Danielle mentioned Orange is the New Black. One of the actors of Orange is the New Black shared just a couple of days ago that her residuals were 14 cents. Ed Solomon, and this is before streaming, the writer of Men in Black and, Bill and Ted, about once a year, always shows on Twitter the residual check or lack thereof he gets because the studio claims that they lost money on Men in Black, one of the most popular movies of all time, right?
Yeah.
As we're talking today, Netflix just came out and said they have a record number of profits, a record number of growth, and Netflix, among other folks, are saying, but this is not realistic. Those were the words of Bob Iger, the head of Disney, who makes about $27 million a year, whose contract got renewed till 2026, and he was quoted in this resort, in this retreat with millionaires and billionaires.
It's called Billionaire Camp.
I'm not
let's just say what he was at Billionaire Camp when he did an interview on how workers requesting a living wage is unrealistic. If that doesn't sound like a fucking Scooby-Doo episode, I don't know what it does.
But this is your quote. I think when Bob Iger talks about what a shame it is, he needs to remember that in the 80s, CEOs like him made 30 times what their lowest worker was making. Now Bob Iger makes 400 times what his lowest worker is making. And I think that's a fucking shame, Bob. And you said that staring at the TV screen. And I was sitting there, I'm like, wait a second, Sean. I wanted to intervene. I'm like, Sean, Marvel is owned by Disney. You're crackling. I worry about your future, sir. What are you doing? Your response to the people like Bob Iger, who honestly are your employers, who are in a way, literally, you're part of this Marvel universe that's cranking out money, but this dude is cranking out record profits for himself and his buddies, who are at a billionaire ranch while you all are striking.
And part of the thing that's a shame is that Bob Iger, I guess to him and to his shareholders, he earns his money because his job is to squeeze every last dime out of the people that work for him. And when I went, and another thing I went on and said in that quote is that, this is also an ethical problem. It's a moral problem. Like, it's not, you can't just have this system where I've never heard anyone ask Bob Iger the question, the fact that you make 400 times the worker when it used to be 30 times, 45 years ago. Why is that okay? Is that good? Is it good for our country? Is it good for the people who work for you? And when he talks about it's a shame, it's not a shame for him.
Nope.
He means it's a shame for you. It's a shame for the people whose labor he's using that are just going into profits. And I would love to know if making movies, if Disney stopped making movies and that made the share price of Disney go up. I doubt it would, but let's just say it. Would Bob Iger then say, all right, Disney's not in the movie making business anymore? Is because
I think he would.
I think he would.
And I think that's where, particularly when you're trying to create art and you're trying to, and that's not all we do. I believe that art should make a profit. I believe it's important to be able to sell what you make. I don't think it should, I do think that there's an important element where you have to be profitable in some sense. But when it's only profits, when it's only as much profit as possible, then we're in real trouble. It's like, what are we doing? Why are we even all endeavoring to go through this and try to make something good and try to make movies? I mean, the whole purpose of Disney is to make people happy, right? It's to help bring something joyful into people's lives. And for the CEO of that company to be like, no, this has to be about squeezing every dime we can out of labor to give it to the CEOs and give it to shareholders. It's fucked, honestly.
It's really, I think that where we are, and I really hope that this isn't just going to be a flash in the pan. And my question, first for you, Sean, is like, how far are y'all willing to go?
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because they got, they could sell 3 homes and still be good. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's this idea that we have such an outsized group of billionaires that control the 99% being able to access just the bare necessities, which is keeping a fucking roof over your head, right? Like being able to afford your rent, right? Let alone being able to afford a mortgage. And so when you know that their ruthlessness, that's what this is, knows no bounds, and that they have the wealth to be able to wait people out, to wait people into desperation
until they lose their homes.
Until like they said, until they lose their homes. I mean, they're willing to cut branches down so y'all don't get shade on the picket line. How far do you see this strike, this movement, this workers' movement going when you know that their cruelty knows no bounds?
I know that it's going to last long enough for it to really, really hurt. And it's already lasted long enough to hurt. I know, the quote you're talking about, where we're going to let people lose their apartments and lose their homes. And there's a whole lot at stake in this particular fight. This is not just about little. This will be, one way or another, it'll be a shift in the entertainment industry. Personally, I think that we, at some point, we need to really solicit the help of all of the people out there who are not, intimate with Hollywood, who just regular folks who consume our products constantly. And I think we're going to ask for their help at some point. SAG has been very adamant about not calling for any boycotts. I stand strong with my union, but at some point, I think I'll be surprised if it isn't necessary at some point to say, hey, we just got to cancel our Netflix subscriptions. We gotta we gotta start saying no to some of this content, and to let them feel it as well, because there has to be some kind of way to fight back. I mean, I think there's a little bit of hope that when the fall TV season comes around and kids go back to school and there's no new content on, that people will start to, that they'll start to feel it a little bit then. When the major networks start to lose ad revenue, that'll, they'll start to feel it a little bit then. But at some point, we're going to need the help of the public. I think we're going to need this is a separate topic, but AI is a whole massive can of worms that
But I was going to ask you about that, Sean, because I'm the cynic here, where I think they'll screw you over if they can. And AI is the way they're going to screw you over. We'll talk about that story in a second. But I just want to let people know that as they're lamenting about loss of profit and loss of money, we're right now recording this the week that Barbenheimer came out and made record box office, and 2 particular IPs created by original auteurs, Greta Gerwig and Christopher Nolan. Even though Barbie's an IP, it's still seen as like an independent movie, not a sequel, right? Sure. And it shows that people want original content literally done by creative, intelligent people. And if you create it, you will get a worldwide global cultural phenomenon like we haven't seen in a long ass time. As this is happening, mentioning AI, we also got the report that studios are flirting with the idea that they will pay you for 1 day's worth of work, Sean. They will capture your likeness and then use it in perpetuity in any way you like. Literally, this was in the 6th season of Black Mirror in the episode called Jonah's Awful. And 2 weeks after I saw that episode, this news story dropped. Reconciling that, where you have this mindset of companies saying, who cares about original content? Who cares about the workers? We have AI. We'll pay them whatever. And then you have the juxtaposition of, oh shit, people love original content done by artists. Do you think this moment that we're witnessing right now gives you leverage as a creator to say, listen, mother effers, you just saw people come out in droves, pay us? Or do you think they're going to find a way to just use that against you?
Well, I never underestimate the power to find some stupid way to use it against us. You know, I've heard people in the industry, argue both sides. Like, for example, when they say, "Oh, let's call for a boycott," it's like, no. Then they're going to say, "Look, see, we're suffering. We can't pay you anymore." Or if we, it's like I always think they're going to try to find some sort of way to use it against us. I want to say this about AI. It's not even just that they want to pay you one time for your likeness in perpetuity. If Netflix were to use AI to create a reboot of Gilmore Girls and use my likeness and all the other likenesses of the actors to create new episodes with our faces, currently right now that would not technically be illegal, probably. And I have no doubt the quality's not there yet, but we know how the speed of technology works. And so I do think when it comes to that, we'll need a little bit of assistance, I think, from lawmakers at some point to say, wait a minute, this is a type of identity theft. You cannot take someone's face, in the same way that you can't take someone's bank account. You can't take their face and just use it to create new content. But to the other point about the movies doing well, yeah, you're right. They need us. I mean, they need us. They need writers. They need actors for the content to be good. There's a part of me that hopes that maybe there can be a renaissance in independent, cinema and television shows and creators just distributing stuff on their own. I feel like if we could flood the zone with alternative content to the big studios, that would be a good way to kind of like take to start hacking away at their monopoly on everything. But I don't know. That's a whole huge mess as well.